That's Nick.
And that's Joseph. And today we're here to talk about The 6888, the 26th film directed by Tyler Perry, which Netflix gave a limited theatrical release to on December 6th, before it will be available to stream on their service December 20th, 2024.
Y'all know Tyler Perry. Most recently, we reviewed the 8 episodes from part 1 of Beauty in Black, also streaming on Netflix.
As is Mea Culpa, which was released earlier this year.
And Divorce in the Black.
That's Amazon Prime, but yeah, that came out this year too.
There you go. Okay, apparently this movie is based on an article he read. What is the 6888 about? 855 women joined the war to fix the 3-year backlog of undelivered mail. Faced with discrimination and a country devastated by war, they managed to sort more than 17 million pieces of mail ahead of time. What is your pull quote?
Although it's clear Tyler Perry has taken more pains than usual with this relevant World War II recuperation, the 6888 suffers from unbearable moments of earnestness and schmaltz. While an obvious lack of research undermines a handful of women who overcome the limitations of the rudimentary script whenever they can.
Mine. With the 6888, Tyler Perry has successfully crafted a dramatic feature-length drunk history skit.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but it's exactly what I thought it would be, a compelling story/subject through the lens of Tyler Perry.
It is that, but it's also, dare I say, it is better than I was expecting based on the recent output.
I read people say it's better than For Color Girls.
That's not true.
Ain't no way.
No.
But it is better than the last 5 things I saw, including A Jazzman's Blues.
Again, and yes, which is also a period piece, and it's clear that a little more time was taken, but not much, and definitely no research.
This really does feel like he read an article, was inspired, wrote a movie, and then filled in the blanks with the obvious discrimination that these women faced. There is a romance that I feel like just pads a lot of it, and a side romance that I think just stops, it just goes nowhere. So it's unfortunate. I think this story deserves a lot more.
These women deserve a lot more, and I just can't believe that there's not somebody better in 2024 that could have done something magnificent with this.
I think this would make an excellent musical. If someone could do that, maybe a John Legend, Jennifer Hudson production on Broadway, and they use, what's the word?
Like an anachronistic musical.
Yeah, so
Kind
maybe
of like how Baz Luhrmann does, but I think,
Well, I was thinking something like that. So using songs like Beyonce's Freedom, Janet Jackson's Rhythm Nation, but tweak the lyrics to make them relevant to this story. I could see that being killer. But with this, it's so broad strokes.
There's no reason this should not be at the same level of, and I know this is also mainstream, but a well-done version of it is A League of Their Own.
Yeah.
With all of the supporting characters that all have a chance to shine, that are very memorable. He does a disservice to just about everybody in this.
The story, as we see it, is very simple. There's a battalion of, it's the only battalion of all black women in the Army, the 6888, and they haven't been given any orders because leadership doesn't think they're competent to do anything, apparently. But one day, through pressure from the president, FDR,
played by Sam Waterston,
and his wife, Eleanor,
played by Susan Sarandon,
and Mary McLeod Bethune,
played by Oprah Winfrey,
they pressure a General
Halt, played by Dean Norris, who, if anyone's chewing the scenery in this, it's Dean Norris.
Man. But they decide to make use of this black women's Army Corps and send them to Europe, with the goal of delivering 17 million pieces of mail in 6 months. They do it in 3 months, the end. That's it. Yes. We don't get any... If you turn this movie off at the 2-hour point, you would think that these women did not succeed, because all we see is that they're struggling to figure out how to do it. They do come up with a system that seems... The most interesting part of this is the ingenuity, the brain power that these women exhibited. And we get glimpses of it.
But in a very shallow way.
But I think because the person who wrote it didn't do more research, they just kind of give us little...
It's reduced to, suddenly they're talking about everybody's specific skill sets. I know about fabric. I know about perfume.
My dad was a mortician. Okay.
In a broad comedic way, that's really kind of in a cringy way, like that montage scene of Harriet Tubman in Harriet, where she keeps coming back and Leslie Odom falls out of his chair. It's like...
It's unfortunate because what these women were able to accomplish is remarkable. But again, if you stop this movie 10 minutes before it ends, you wouldn't know that they accomplished it, because we're told by several white officers that these women are failures. No one's getting their mail.
But of course, leave it to history. That is par for the course.
And then at the very end, there's a scene where Kerry Washington, who plays
Major Charity Adams,
she's leading the battalion. At the end, the general comes to do like an inspection, and they get into, she is insubordinate to a degree. And so he says, I'm going to court-martial you. He doesn't tell her that. She knows that he's going to do it. So we cut to him at his office, wherever he's based, and he is literally on the phone. And this is after the 2-hour mark. He's on the phone saying, I want her court-martialed. Wait, hold on, there's a commotion outside. And we see all the troops who are at this base receiving their mail. The end. Then we see the women leaving their post, and a bunch of white soldiers salute them because they received their mail, including one soldier who said he would never salute
whose
them.
behavior was egregious racism.
And I'm sure accurate to the time, but the way it's played out, it's just disappointing.
Yes.
I really wanted to know about how these women, they basically set up like a postmaster general in like an abandoned school.
With given no resources, no beds.
Well, but then that's the other thing. They set up this place and it looks beautiful, but we're told that they have nothing. And it's like, we have a full hair salon, proper bedding, showers. I just wanted to learn about how these women accomplished this in an unbelievable amount of time. But instead, the film opens with, there's some battle somewhere and a soldier is killed and another soldier pulls a letter from his uniform.
Blood-soaked.
And that blood-soaked letter is like, what is that movie? The traveling, the Yaya Sisterhood.
Divine Secrets of the Yaya. Well, Sister of the Traveling Pants.
Yes, Sister of Traveling Pants.
Well, also reminded me of the Rose and Schindler's List.
Where we see this bloody letter go from place to place. So keep that in mind. Then we cut to this young woman named Lena.
Lena Derriecott King, played by Ebony Obsidian.
A black woman who's dating a white Jewish man. And of course that creates tension. Her mother and some other lady who's in the house, we never learned who she is.
I thought it was Grandma. I thought Susie was Grandma. Emma and Susie.
Well, those two ladies look the same age to
That's
me.
what I
was confused.
Yes.
Either way, the two black women in the house where Lena lives, one being her mother, don't like this for her. The other lady seems more like, let her have fun.
That's why I thought she was Grandma, like she's spoiling.
Right.
Yeah.
But her Jewish boyfriend decides to go off to war, and she never hears from him again. Like she never gets correspondence, even though she's sending. Then she decides to go to the army because she knows college is not in the cards for her.
Well, a letter is received about him, though.
Well, yes, we do see that this young man's father delivers a letter to her house. And we assume that it says that he's died. So then we cut to her joining the army. We get a little bit of boot camp when all of a sudden we see that Kerry Washington's character, the major, she is all about her girls and trying to show that these black women are way more capable than anyone else here. And so she's fighting for orders.
And she's flanked always by a mostly silent Captain Campbell, played by Milauna Jackson, who's also in A Jazz Man's Blues.
So we get her getting her orders, like
it comes
reluctantly.
It comes on the heels of her making a complaint about her
white soldiers disrespecting her
in
battalion.
A movie theater, yeah.
So they get sent to Europe and they struggle to set up this abandoned school, but not really, because we get a montage of them building this beautiful space. But then they keep saying it's like cold and there are rats, and then they just struggle. We're told that they're having a hard time getting letters delivered because soldiers are moving and we really don't know where they are.
Well, there's some misinformation going on. That
letters aren't addressed properly. And then it's alluded to that there's sabotage, but again, probably because there was not a lot of research done, everything is sort of like hinted at. Then we get this romance between, so Lena is also grieving her boyfriend who left to the army, but then there's another soldier who doesn't have much to do except pop up like, I like you, girl, and then kind of goes off.
And then they have a very emotional scene where it's like, well, maybe, why can't we be friends, kind of happens.
And then he doesn't come back, so.
But then at the very end, we learn, I think that the real Lena is still alive.
And she ended up marrying that man. But so that feels weird that we just dropped their relationship. Lena does, with the help of Kerry Washington's character, get to visit the burial site of her man. We do see one act of violence. A couple of the ladies go to deliver mail and they run over an unexploded bomb. And then that bomb explodes the truck. So some of the women die and the general doesn't want to pay for their burials, which to me in itself could be a movie about the disrespect these women faced. And in this film, it's just glossed over. Like Kerry Washington puts out a collection plate, which is the precipice for her towards the end confronting the general.
Yes.
Like, y'all haven't helped us in any way, to the point we had to like bury our own. And now you want to come in here and tell us we're not doing things right? And then he seems shook, like he doesn't know how to respond, so he leaves. And then, of course, gets on the phone to tell on her. I'm disappointed. But I guess for Tyler Perry, this is better than...
It is better. That's the kind of the hard netherworld that this film will exist in. Because, I don't know, I feel like someday we're going to get a much better treatment of this from somebody more capable.
This director is just not capable. I mean, the opening battle scene feels like...
generic.
Yeah.
Very heavily CG. The fires look terrible. It's just...
the writing. So we go to the Jewish boyfriend's home and his parents must be rich and they're having like a social gathering. I think it's to celebrate him going off to war or to the army. And the writing for some of these characters describing what's happening at the hands of Hitler felt very like a fifth grader wrote it.
It's extremely rudimentary. It's like, why even try?
Oh my gosh, the score is unrelenting.
Oh, Aaron Zigman, got to drag him, worked with Nick Cassavetes a lot, but he's been working with Tyler Perry, I believe, since going back to the first Why Did I Get Married? And I believe, so the score isn't always so blatantly obnoxious in Mr. Perry's works, but it is here, and I think Mr. Zigman probably just does not know how to handle this period and what we're trying to convey. And I think a lot of the film feels like this could have been propaganda from the 1940s and the sentimentality that it's trying to get across to us.
I know Kerry Washington's voice was hoarse after each day of filming because she is just doing a lot of shouting.
Of course, reuniting with Mr. Perry after For Colored Girls.
Yes.
I don't know. I can't remember if they've worked since then together. But I was expecting to cringe a lot at her performance, and I actually didn't. And I think there's quite a bit of catharsis with her standoffs with these terrible white people.
Those are the highlights, is her character standing up to her deters.
It's not quite as cathartic as seeing, Whoopi Goldberg throw a obnoxious white woman through a plate glass window in Fatal Beauty. But the scene with the chaplain, I think, is the highlight for me.
Yeah, the general sends a chaplain to basically spy on the women, because we also are told that there are rumors that these black women are like prostituting themselves out.
Well, black women have always been hypersexualized.
Which again is like, I feel like that could have been, it's just like, just dropping all these little allusions to things to tell a story that is not effective.
And then even Major Adams, when she's talking to Captain Campbell, they're asked to entertain some black troops, black men that come, and there's a very ambiguous comment she makes, but she's like, well, you know what was expected of us, you know what that's all about. Like, they're supposed to entertain them in all ways necessary.
So at a point, because we get so little of how they actually accomplish this, and we're really only told that they're failing, but at one point we see the women, these soldiers actually decipher the mail, and that these soldiers are leaving clues as to where they're located, like secret code. Which I thought, again, that could be the basis for a movie.
Fascinating.
And he just drops it like, wait, how are these women figuring out where to send the mail?
You could have actually fashioned this into some, like, there could have been a thriller component to this.
Yes.
Really.
This could have been like a political thriller.
Or an excellent documentary, something.
Getting back to the bloody letter, we do see it, like, we see glimpses of it throughout, like very sort of obvious, like this letter's still in play. And then finally we see that one day while all the ladies are in the mailroom sorting, one character, I think her name is Johnny May,
Played by Shanice Shante.
who I think's a lot of fun, but maybe the way she's directed in this film feels a little inappropriate.
She's filling out that comedic Medea space that Tyler Perry carves out in each of his films.
And she sees the letter and realizes, oh my gosh, this letter is for Lena. And that turns out to be the letter from her, who we find out is dead boyfriend. I thought that felt like...
Well, we know the letter's going to end up, because we see it so much. I guess Tyler Perry got me because I didn't think that would be her.
I certainly didn't think it would be her because that just feels so corny, but here we are.
Even though we get a scene where she knows that there's probably a letter from him in there somewhere.
Okay.
It just seemed so obvious that it couldn't be possible.
I think what I liked the least is the major. His accent work.
Dean Norris is terrible.
Oh my God. You know what he sounded like? Old girl from Hush Hush, Sweet Charlotte. I'm going to go into
Agnes
town
Moorehead.
and tell them what you've been up to.
Actually, I thought he sounded like Dennis Quaid's New Orleans accent in The Big Easy. Some crawfish etouffee. Like, it's laughable. And I love Susan Sarandon, and she's only in like 2 scenes. Her Eleanor Roosevelt with those
teeth.
fairy tale horror teeth. Like, no, not for me. And Oprah,
She has one scene.
she's in one scene. It's really, it doesn't have any impact. It's same with Sam Waterston. But hey.
I could be done. What would you give the 6888?
I do want to shout out Ebony Obsidian as a character. I feel like, especially as of late, Tyler Perry has had these lead protagonists like Kimmy in Beauty and Black, or even Megan Good in Divorce in the Black, that are exceptionally passive and really have no kind of level of characterization at all. And I would like to say that Ebony Obsidian, I think that in a couple moments where she's given the chance to do something, does shine.
I agree.
So, and again, I think that's these actors having to overcome the limitations of this paltry material. But I would give, and this is a very high rating for a Tyler Perry film for me, is 2.
I hope someone else takes on this subject and gives us what these ladies deserve. I would give this film 2 out of 5. Join us on Patreon and listen to our podcast. Bye.